I'm sure many of you have heard your parents say, "You have it so easy." Or, well, in my day, we had to do this or that. And while certain aspects of what they say may be true, there has also been a lot of changes in today's society that have caused many problems. With these problems and former problems faced by every previous generation, there's bound to be loads of stress. Well, stress is a pretty broad term because there's so many different variables that could cause it. A straightforward way of putting it is the body reacting to challenge or demand. Once again, this definition is oversimplified because of the many ways stress can be caused. But I still like it because it shows that stress doesn't just affect the mentality. It can affect someone physically in many ways, which I'll touch upon later. Throughout this, I'll be talking about the causes of stress, how stress affects teenagers differently, and what society can do as a whole to help. So what are the causes of stress? Well, you can take into consideration home environment, school, technology, relationships, overthinking, and this applies to all age ranges. While an adult is worried about their child, an adolescent could be wondering, how can I get out of a household? While an adult is wondering how to get out of a financial situation, an adolescent could be wondering if they have enough money for a certain item. The two situations may seem vastly different, but they can actually have the same mental drain. The reason being, from the ages from 13 to 25, there's so many different changes in the body and in the mind. One of these includes the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that deals with emotions. During these years, it becomes hyperactive and gives false alarms to even the smallest of inconveniences. This is why certain people are stressed and have different emotions when they don't even know why. Personally, I'm not a very busy person. I practice my instrument, I try to do good in school, and I try to have time for myself, which I'm sure many other people do. So when I have time for myself, I try not to think about anything else, maybe any problems, any work I have. However, even if I don't have any of these things, I'm still thinking if I haven't done something or if I've done something wrong. So when I take into consideration what other people have to put up with their home environment, school, maybe after school activities, it must be so overwhelming. We're always so focused on our future and our problems that we rarely ever have time for ourselves. Something else to consider is we're just going into the phases of adulthood. An adult has had their entire life to experience problems when we may have not seen the worst parts of life. So once we face a problem, we think it's the worst it's going to get. We can't get out of the situation when that simply isn't true. Adults need to realize that even though our situations may seem small, our developing mind tells us that they're much greater. That's the cause for some of our overwhelming stress. This stress can affect people in many different ways. This includes physical. First, let me get into the science of how stress can affect a person physically. When a person is stressed, their muscles begin to tense up. And as the American Psychological Association states, when muscles are tensed up for a prolonged period of time, it can cause many stress-related disorders. This includes low energy, headaches, body aches, skin issues, insomnia, according to WebMD. This low energy can cause people not to get out of bed. We don't have energy to do the things that we need to do, or even the things that we enjoy doing. It turns into a cycle. Being stressed, not having energy, not doing work, and now being stressed about the work that you aren't doing. The cycle possibly never ends, and over time, this can affect the mental health. Depression, behavioral changes, and anxiety are all mental effects of stress. According to the Mental Health Foundation, this can lead to 24 days, or around 3.5 weeks of work loss for every person affected each year. When the stress of work causes a lack of work, isn't there a problem? Especially at a younger age with your priorities surrounding problems, deadlines, tests. The amount of work we put into stuff with no return except some people having anxiety or some even depression doesn't seem worth it. Once again, you have to take into consideration that depression due to stress in teens is very high. This depression could lead to the thoughts or even the act of suicide. According to PMC, over 50% of suicidal attempts in teenagers are impulsive, meaning from the initial thought to the act, maybe there wasn't a plan. There was only a couple of minutes to even hours. If the amount of stress in adolescence remains the same or increases, the amount of lives affected could be drastic. That's why there needs to be change. We know that schools won't lower the amount of work given out, and we know that adults won't lower the expectations for our future. Changes won't happen in both of these for a very long time. So in the meantime, what do we do? One solution, which sounds cheesy and overused, is talking to someone. It doesn't have to be an adult like a teacher, your parents, or a counselor. Glacier stated, studies have shown that talking to someone about your problems can be profoundly healing, reducing stress, improving our immune system, and reducing physical and emotional distress. I can actually say this is true because when I was in middle school, I was very overwhelmed and anxious because I don't like new things or change. Over time, I developed a condition called stress-induced Bell's palsy. I wasn't really talking to anyone about my problems, but once I did, it really helped. This leads me to my next point, ensuring we are there for others. We don't have to give people advice. We don't need to fix their problems. We just need to listen, because sometimes that's all that's needed. Lastly, we have to fix the problem ourselves. We see the decisions that are being made aren't always positively impacting us. So once we're adults, we'll be able to reflect off of our past and remember what we wanted. Since no one is going to help us, we have to help ourselves. Thank you.